So yesterday, as you recall, Jay Wanger, Susquehanna Group Advisors, was here to share with you the concept of fully funding the pension by means of borrowing the remaining $24 million that is the unfunded portion. If you're willing to pursue that any further or extend it, would be time for Jay to seek some proposals from banks or underwriters as to what interest rates they might offer, terms they might offer, so that calculations could be made to compare that form of financing it to simply continuing to pay the ARCs, which include a portion of the unfunded amount in it. So basically to continue on the path that you are, or to seek a financing option, he would need to get that information and run those numbers to put them before you. So today, the question is, do you want to proceed in that regard and ask Jay to go out to banks and get some numbers?
If you think this requires another conversation or work session to discuss the pros and cons, we certainly can do that, but a significant piece of this analysis will be what is a real financing alternative as opposed to us guessing. So I don't want to consume a lot of your work session time with a concept that doesn't have merit if there's not a lender out there that we think is out there. On the other hand, I also don't want to go through a process if you're not ready to go through the process.
I'd like to propose that we do pursue, see what the numbers look like, and then have another workshop to review that and the concept in general. I've talked with people on both sides of this, and there are pros and cons, but I think if we had more information and we could authorize Jay to do some further study, I think that's a prudent thing to do.
So you're making a motion that we proceed to gain more information, is that correct?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
No, if I might, if it probably would help if the motion included direction to undertake a request for proposal process so that it's a little more specific as to what we've been charged to do.
Okay. So did you hear that, Commissioner Phillips?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And you will second it? No, you won't second it?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll second the motion for discussion, and I want to clarify that this motion does not commit this board to anything.
Absolutely. And the RFP will clearly state the county retains the right to reject any and all offers for any reason.
Okay. I would say that any decision that I make here for the folks in Lebanon County, I want to have all of the information that I can get, and duly note that Commissioner Litz did deliver on the information, and I was at that workshop, and we're just asking Jay Wanger to do an RFP to get information. Yes.
Yes, I have a statement I would like to read. It would take 2 minutes.
Or is that okay? That's fine.
This concerns pension obligation bonds and articles and information that I obtained from Richard Dreyfuss and the Chamber of Commerce that says pension obligation bonds are serious risk and lousy public policy. Number one, POBs does not change the total indebtedness. POBs do change the nature of the indebtedness. Number two, you can amortize unfunded pensions, which are flexible. Number three, POBs are inflexible debt with required annual payments for up to 30 years. Number four, with the appearance of more assets than liabilities, there's a false sense of security. A, interest groups lobby for increased programs and benefits. B, Governor Rendell, then Mayor of Philadelphia, once took out a POB, but politicians forget the commitments, and Mayor Street didn't make pension ARC because of the false sense of reduced debt, which resulted in a compounded pension deficit. It backfired and left Philadelphia in even worse shape. Number five, asset performance outperforms expectations when there is downturns in the stock market. Number 6, in short, POBs turn in a somewhat flexible commitment to a firm commitment. Also, there are political risks. Pension bonds can give lawmakers another incentive to underfund the plans. That's a direct quote from Mr. Dreyfuss. Number 8, rating agency warning by Moody, a major credit rating firm, issued a statement in December warning governments about the risk of using pension bonds. Quote, we consider it a deficit borrowing and would view the financing as credit negative, by Marcia Van Wagner, the vice president of Moody's. Finally, and most importantly, in 2010, the legislature made such pension obligation bonds illegal. So we should not pursue it any further.
We might note that they were made illegal for the state pension funds, not for our pension fund.
If they're illegal
For
for the state
clarification.
pension, obviously there was some meat to those comments.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I'm saying is, please clarify that it's not illegal in this case.
I don't know that for a fact. I did as much work as I could in 24 hours. I did not read the actual, but I quoted from the sources I said.
Certainly to the extent it's illegal, we would not get a legal opinion to enter into the transaction.
May I just offer that I guess I'm lost as trying to do a little bit more, as we say, due diligence on these kinds of things. What is the harm in pursuing some more information when it just seems, and I may be just, this is an observation, but with all due respect, Commissioner Litz, it seems like at every turn when we're trying to address the pension issue, you're either voting against it or your efforts are against, trying to protect the existing pensioners and the future pensioners. I mean, we're trying to just get as much information to get this as solvent and as solid as possible. It's, at least from my observation, that this is a trend of yours not to want to go in that direction, to try to make it as solvent and as solid as possible.
In rebuttal, sir, I will quote Richard Dreyfuss one more time. Would you in today's world take out another mortgage on your house at 3% and invest in the stock market? It's foolhardy to trust politicians with found money and expect them not to be tempted to put it toward what's politically popular. And Eric Bones said, sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease.
I stand on my statement.
Spoke to Jamie this morning by phone, and I think we all have to recognize the weak point, or one of the weak points that Mr. Dreyfuss points out, that doing this bond gives a false sense of security, and government agencies, politicians like we are, I suppose, are encouraged to do things like COLAs for existing retirees and increased benefits and things like that, perhaps even related benefits like health insurance for retirees, which yesterday your comment was that we put money into the pension fund on the backs of those people that retired. It wasn't on the backs of those people. That was something that the prior board chose to give as an additional benefit, but it obviously was also, in the same sense, preserving the pension fund of those same folks. So to make a statement that was made on the backs of the retirees is certainly an unfair statement. So certainly I'm not looking at this as something that I want to jump on, but I certainly don't see the harm in gathering more information. You always seem interested in getting more information, and as you indicate, do your due diligence. I think this is part of this board's due diligence to find out all the information that we can. But I think we also, going forward as a board, have to recognize that we can't give and continue to give. And just as I spoke against the grant last meeting for the probation department. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that we can't lull ourselves, no matter how we treat this, into a sense of we can grant these things. And going forward, I don't think we should even consider a COLA. That's what caused a lot of these problems at the state level particularly, and here as well. So I'm interested in moving forward, permitting Mr. Wenger to go out and get information through an RFP. So with that, I would call for the vote.
I'd have one short more statement.
Sure.
Thank you. Again, doing this little microcosm of a thing without a total written vision does not set a blueprint for the future. It is ill-timed, it is ill thought out, and we should not do it at this.
We're not doing it.
We shouldn't waste this man's time.
Okay. Action has been called for. All those in favor of the motion as presented indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Then the vote, Commissioner Phillips. Aye.
He had voted aye.
He voted aye, okay. All right, the motion carries just to
I would
get
like to
more-
vote against it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Again, opposed, those
Yes.
opposed.
Okay, by way of process, we'll prepare a RFP that we would distribute broadly to banks. We've seen some peculiar interest on banks out of market, as we call it. And I'll forward that to Jamie for the county's review so that it doesn't go out without your eyes on it and your comments as to what we're asking for.